Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well. Today, we're going to be talking about how to look more beautiful inside and out. The Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well is a companion site to naturopathicmd.com, and I talk a lot about stress, inflammation, and toxicity and the effects it has on your overall health. But many of us are almost more concerned about how we look day to day. And so people are much more likely to pay attention to that initially than other things. So I want to talk first about, your skin and how we can support skin health. But first, because you know that I'm an anatomy and physiology nerd, we want to go over a little bit about the structure of the skin. So the skin is your largest organ, and therefore it's your largest detoxification organ. And a lot of health issues that happen with the skin are also giving you clues as to what's going on in your body. So you've got several different layers of skin, and they're made up of collagen, you've got hair follicles, blood vessels, and then a protective layer over the top that keeps us both waterproof and also protects us from infections. And that's why when you cut yourself, if you scrape yourself or get a blister, you don't always bleed because your circulation and your blood vessels are actually below that group of epidermis that's protecting you. But that's what we really see. And the very top of the skin is all dead. And so we're going to talk a lot about my skincare regimen today so that you can get a really nerdy look at how I'm fighting the sands of time as much as possible. But you have to do an internal piece as well as an external piece for the best benefits. So when we talk about skin health, on the inside, what do we want to do? Well, as always, we want to lower inflammation, we want to detoxify the system, and we want to not stress so much because, like when you're under stress, you can either sweat a lot, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but some people have uncomfortable amounts of sweating. And stress also can create fine lines and wrinkles on your face if you're always doing this or frowning. And remember when your mother told you that don't make those faces or your face will stick that way? Well, that's how we age. When you have collagen underneath the surface of the skin, and just like paper, if you think about it, when you fold paper over and over and over, there's a place that becomes weak, and you can see that crease in the line. Well, that's when collagen breaks underneath your skin, and you can start having sagging, you can have fine lines and wrinkles, and that's only one part of what we see as we age. We also lose fat in our face, which there isn't a whole lot that we can do about, but that can also give us kind of a sunken or hollowed out look. As we age, we also have bone loss. So let's just talk a little bit first, because there's a lot of different things that people currently do for their skin. There's lasers, Restylane and other injections, Botox injections. And I just want to say I'm not a big fan of Botox. As many people are getting it, I don't think it's necessarily a very healthy thing long-term to do, because there's something called Wolff's Law. And Wolff's Law says that when you put stress or you pull on a bone, it tells the body to make more bone to resist the pulling of the muscles. So when you Botox something, you're paralyzing those muscles, and that bone is no longer getting stimulation to keep up the calcification, which keeps our bone. Like in osteoporosis, weight-bearing exercise is an important thing to do to keep that pressure on the bones so that it's keeping the calcium and the bones strong. So when you Botox, I think you're actually setting yourself up to have bone loss in your face long-term, which is not really a good plan. And that's the end of what I'm going to say about Botox, really. But let's talk about the things that are harming our skin. So inflammation is certainly one of them. You can have red marks, rashes, eczema, psoriasis. These are all inflammatory processes. Blood vessels you can see I actually have some broken blood vessels in my face, and dark circles under the eyes are some weak vessels and vasculature as well, and it's almost like bruising. And we're going to talk about how to solve these problems as we, get on with the show. And I do invite you to make comments on the Facebook page for the Contact Talk Radio Network, and we can answer those questions for you as we go on if you've got specific questions. So again, this is the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well, and we're going to be talking about how health is beauty is health, and you can't really be as beautiful as you can possibly be if you're not healthy at the same time, and our skin does give us clues. So we also not only want to decrease inflammation, but we want to decrease oxidative stress. And there's a whole product line or two now that are out that are specifically to protect the skin from pollution. So it's not just the sky and the sun and ultraviolet rays, but many of us live in cities that have high levels of pollution that can get filmed on the skin and the face, which isn't going to add to your glowing beauty, right? So detoxification is a really important thing. And as always, I really support good nutrition. I mean, the basis of health is good nutrition and making sure that you're getting all of your vitamins and your nutrients and your minerals. And we all know that there's a trillion beauty products out there, and most of them are put topically on the skin, and most of them have vitamins in them. But while that's a good thing, I think it's more important to actually make that an internal process. So you're getting your B5 and your vitamin A and your vitamin C internally so that your body can take it where it needs to go to repair. I bring up vitamin C because it's probably one of my favorite things, and it's especially important for the skin because collagen synthesis and repair absolutely needs vitamin C. And also, your blood vessels have collagen inside of them that keeps them strong. And so if you want to have less broken blood vessels or less varicose veins, then vitamin C is a really good thing to add in because it not only is it an antioxidant that protects against pollution, oxidative damage that can lead to discoloration, even skin cancers. Vitamin C is a great thing to add in because it makes the whole process work just a little bit better. Now, I don't have a whole lot of time to, it's one of the priorities. And when you say, I don't have time for that, it means it's not a priority. I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. I have very clean protein in my diet. And yet I want to talk about one of my favorite products is called Greens First. You can see it, maybe. It's actually, I have a Amazon wish list or idea list that you can also follow if you are a fan of ours on Facebook. There's a link right there so you can see a lot of these products that we're going to be talking about today listed on Amazon, so it's quick and easy for you to order if you'd like. And so Greens First is a great way to get, I think it's over 30 different doses of nutrients like vegetables and fruits into your diet in a really easy way. You can see I'm actually drinking mine right now. It's green and it's minty. They have berry flavors as well. I drink quarts of this a day because it helps make sure that I'm getting as many vegetables as I can. We're going to just ignore for a little bit that it has a lot of different varieties of things. And so people may have food sensitivities to some of the things in here. And so it may not be perfect for everyone, but as a pretty good base, it's great for your skin. It's great for your digestion. It's really good for hangovers. And it's something that you can implement into your diet that in an easy way that's not too expensive and just enjoy better health from it. So let's talk about food allergies. If you've listened before, you know that I'm a big fan of the ALCAT test. There's a lot of different food sensitivity tests out there, but it's my favorite because I feel like it's got a really good range of food that it tests, and it actually looks at it in a functional way so that you're looking at how your cells are overreacting to things in your diet. And it's so as a functional test, I think it has great value. All of my patients have improved across the board when they avoid the things that come back that they're sensitive to. You can find that test at naturopathicmd.com. And it's great for just about everything, and even the skin. I was getting a lot of rashes, like little eczema bumps around my eyes and around my mouth, and that was a food sensitivity. So I don't have them anymore because I stay away from the foods that were causing those issues. Now, things like psoriasis and eczema are classic to improve when you avoid those foods that are causing inflammation in your body. Now, let's talk about one of my other favorite topics, which is detoxification. And I'm sure you've seen all of these like charcoal masks or clay masks. If you're, well, most of the women have, I'm sure. And since it's the Bad Girls Guide to Living Well, I think that's probably a lot of our audience. But those are supposed to be pulling toxins out of the skin. And they're great, right? Especially in high pollution areas. They can firm up the pores and they can draw impurities out of the skin. We have a site that we really like called potions2powders.com, potions2powders.com, and they've got handmade artisan cosmetics that you can get with bentonite clay and rose petals and things like that to help the skin, because one of the big issues with cosmeceuticals and cosmetics is that they have such an incredible amount of toxicity in them if you're buying things that you don't necessarily know what's on the label or how bad it could be. We've talked a lot about this in our detoxification podcasts previously, and detoxification is a big part of the practice that I do because everyone is toxic. And one of the best ways that you can avoid toxicity after you do a detoxification process is to get good, clean products. And I have some of my favorites. Again, they're on that Amazon shopping list or wish list, whatever it is. There's a link. But there's another website that I've talked about before called the Environmental Working Group, and it's ewg.org. Now, the Environmental Working Group does a whole database called Skin Deep, which a lot of things are missing from because it's a work in progress, but the database looks at the ingredients and products and then rates them as far as how much cancer they have been researched to cause or how much hormonal dysfunction they've been researched to cause. And most of the products that you find in your drugstores and grocery stores and even your, fancy cosmetic stores are full of these chemicals that are hurting your health. And when you're already swimming in a toxic world full of all different 80,000 different industrial chemicals, many of which have never been tested for human safety, doing little things at home to decrease your exposure can be incredibly beneficial. So the Environmental Working Group has that Skin Deep list where you can go in and you can research products that you already use. And then they also have EWG verified products. And a lot of the things that I'm going to be showing you today have come from that. And it's a little bit difficult to find those in common stores. And so that's why, just another reason why I love Amazon so much, because you can search for different products and then write EWG verified, and it'll bring up a lot of, and there is a seal, because sometimes ads will come in and you think it's EWG verified and it really isn't. I recently got shampoo that I was very disappointed in because I didn't do my due diligence and I just took their word for it. And it was not as pure as it reported to be. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get these products. Often they're a little bit more expensive. Often they're not. But I promise you it's worth it because it's going to be putting less of a toxic system, like toxic stress on your body. Now, we're going to talk mostly about skin today. But again, your hair is a product of your skin. And a lot of people deal with graying and hair loss, etc. And that does also indicate the level of health that your body is functioning at. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well as my favorite product for hair color, because as I said, I'm fighting it all the way, but I was getting migraines and terrible just headaches and allergies from going to a really, I don't know if I can even say it because it might be bad press, but I was going to a very fancy, all natural salon chain, and still those the hair coloring that they were putting on me was just it was too much for my body to handle, and I was sensitive to it. And so I had to shift over into something else. We might as well talk about it now because I don't have a lot to talk about as far as hair goes. But this henna-based product is what I use to dye my grays. And it works fantastically. It's all natural. It's really easy to do at home. You can enlist the help of a loved one, and it does get better with practice. But basically, you make a henna-based tea. There's lots of different colors. I apologize if you're a blonde because you don't have options with this because they don't have natural blonde hair color. And if you do have blonde hair color and you use one of these, it might turn your hair a ridiculous color that will need to be fixed by a professional. But if you've got darker hair or red hair or brown, light brown like me, then it's a completely natural thing that's very effective. You need to use it just about as much as you would get regular hair coloring, and it's about $8 a box. Now, one disclaimer is it is a little bit like pouring diarrhea on your head in the way that it looks, which is probably not a very good selling point, but the smell isn't as bad as the chemical smell, and you do get better with mixing it so that the consistency works. You need to leave it on for a period of time. It helps to apply heat, and then you wash it off and you're ready to go. And so that's probably my favorite hair product. And I'm still sensitive about my grays. Until I go fully silver, then this is what I'm going to be doing. So when you think about how to optimize your health and beauty, you can't forget about hormone balance. Hormones have an incredible effect on our skin, especially in women. Estrogen is what keeps our skin like soft and firm and radiant. And as we start to get older, our levels of estrogen drop, and you can lose the integrity and the elasticity of the skin. The other big thing with hormone balance is acne. We see a lot of acne and cystic acne and PCOS, and also other hormone imbalances. When women are going to start their cycle, often they can have breakouts. And we have a lot of drugs that are used for acne, primarily, Retin-A and antibiotics. And Retin-A can be really, really tough on your liver. It can make you photosensitive to the sun. And antibiotics, using them really should be a last resort. And so by digging a little bit deeper into how your body is functioning and your hormone balance and dealing with that naturally can decrease the need for these pharmaceuticals that can harm your health in the long run. So there's also natural antibiotics that you can use in the form of herbs, etc., that can support skin health. And there's even procedures that can help decrease acne scars that we'll talk about a little bit towards the end. So what tests would I do for someone that wanted to make their skin as radiant and awesome as possible? Well, the food sensitivity test, obviously. I would also do hormone testing, especially for women. And then we do have toxicity testing that are optional as well, because you have no idea what chemicals are in your body. And we can do a simple urine test to look and see what sort of things are in there, and then have an idea of the effects that your body is having from them. We all live in different places. We all use different products. We all eat different things. And so we're exposed to different chemicals that can have effects that vary in the body. But the good news is, as long as you're detoxifying regularly and doing it well, then not just a face mask taking it out of the skin, then you're less likely to have those chemicals stay in your body and cause problems long term. Now, infections are also an important thing to test because of the antibiotic use, and people are supposed to be on things like tetracycline for years to manage their skin. But what that does is create, because it's a broad spectrum antibiotic, and you're on it for a long time. And so you're creating bugs that no longer will respond or be killed by that antibiotic. And if you do chronic infections, we did a whole podcast on chronic infections. And it's one of the things that as we get older can cause more and more problems in the body if they're not addressed appropriately. So chronic infections, we can also test as well as your microbiome and your digestive system, because the healthier your gut is, the healthier your skin and the whole rest of your body is. And if you've got little nasties in there that are causing problems, then we address the gut and everything gets better after that. I do recommend detoxification. Naturopathic MD offers a 30-day detoxification program with supplementation and support in order to start mobilizing those toxins out of your body in a safe and effective way. And I will tell you that when I have detoxed, it is the best my skin has ever looked. It's like a light gets turned on behind it, and it just becomes clearer and looks better across the board. And so I really recommend that. If you've never done one, then you should. Even if you don't do the one that with, Naturopathic MD, it's such an important thing to do. And as you know from other podcasts that I've done, the foot bath and master cleanse sort of thing, that's not really what I'm talking about. That can maybe stir up a little bit of the toxins, but if you don't open up the gates to let it out, then you're only causing more problems. And a lot of people feel sicker after they do that, after a little bit. So get your good nutrition, detoxify, and what else? Well, one of the best things that you can do for your skin is to exercise. It increases circulation. It helps with sweating. Sweating is a fantastic way to get rid of toxins out of the body. So not only exercise, but also saunas. I am a big fan of really super hot Epsom salt baths, not only because magnesium is readily absorbed through the skin, and magnesium is one of the most depleted minerals in the body, and it's needed for your neurotransmitters, your hormone balance, your detoxification process, your sleep patterns, and just about everything magnesium needs, and most of us are deficient. And so one of my other favorite products, and you can see I buy the industrial bag, is Epsom salts. I use about 2 or 3 cups in a hot bath. Obviously, don't burn yourself, but I do that quite regularly all winter long, and then I'll do cold rinses after in the shower, because what happens when you take a hot bath is your blood vessels dilate, bringing more circulation to the skin, heats up, you sweat, and then the cold will contract them, and it tones the skin and tightens it up. But also it's giving the muscles in your blood vessels exercise, which is a really good thing. It's also really good for sleep. I do it before bed in order to get better, deeper sleep. In addition to being detoxifying, it's good for the muscles. I have a little crick in my leg today, so I should probably take one tonight. I don't need very big reasons to do that. Just give me an excuse. So let's talk about stress a little bit. Audrey Hepburn has a beautiful quote about her beauty regimen, and I just love it. It's about children running their fingers through her hair for beautiful hair, smiling and laughing and loving. And it's such an important thing, because I personally think resting bitch face is overrated, even if it doesn't necessarily cause a whole lot of wrinkles. But pay attention. Every now and then I get surprised, like I'll turn on the photo on my phone and it'll be looking at me and I'll be like, oh God, I should probably smile a little bit, or not like have my brows lowered so much. And paying attention to how your face is showing whatever emotion can give you an incredible feedback about how, not only how you're feeling, but how you're looking. And just by simply smiling, it changes the balance of neurotransmitters in your brain, and it'll make you feel better. I don't know if you've seen that. If you take a pencil and put it in your mouth and look in the mirror, it tricks you into thinking that you're smiling. That's actually really, really good for you. So just breathe deeply and think happy thoughts. Smile more during the day, because smile lines and laugh lines are going to look a lot better on you in the future than frown lines and scowling lines. And while we cannot pause how time is going forward, we can fight it every single way. And you can choose how you look when you get older by these simple things. So we talked about exercise and laughter, obviously love and having fun. And the other big thing, especially for the skin, is hydration. And that's why I drink a lot of these a day, because I think the taste of water is boring. And this helps me really drink a lot more water, because it's non-GMO and unsweetened, and yet it's also helping my body absorb. Sometimes I throw minerals in it. Sometimes I throw vitamin C in it. I have a whole bunch of recipes as far as like my nighttime bath rehydration, because you can actually make functional nutritional foods that taste good and help you to get the amount of water in. But your water content in your body needs to be as high as possible. Obviously, don't murder yourself with drinking distilled water and a couple gallons of it in an hour, because that can kill you. But you want to drink at least half your body weight in ounces a day. I drink a gallon a day, and I think that's a pretty good way to support my kidneys and my liver and my skin. If you have dry skin, you're dehydrated. Now, if you drink coffee, tea, things with caffeine, alcohol, beer, vodka, whiskey, all of those are diuretics that actually make your body lose water. And while you can get acclimated to it over time, and it happens less and less, you need to drink an equal amount of coffee, for example, in water or liquids that aren't diuretics, in order to just keep up with what you could lose from that. So in addition to whatever you're needing for your body to function, if you drink those diuretic type beverages as well, you need to go over and above that amount. So that's water. Now, I have another post on our Facebook page for cover 3. And I'm going to smile through this whole thing, because isn't it terrible when a younger sibling makes you look bad because he's just so fantastic? Well, my brother has developed the supplement, and it's called Cover 3, and it is for specifically for brain health, brain trauma, and TBIs, concussions. And he's such a genius, because you know what else it's good for? Just about everything. So this has essential fatty acids in it, and it's got, which are fish oils, and then it also has something resveratrol, which is really good for your blood vessels, and it's got curcumin, which is anti-inflammatory. So every single cell in your body needs essential fatty acids. If you have dry skin, the first 2 things you really want to think about are hydration and healthy fats. Now, this is a really delicious slurry. It tastes like orange. If you're allergic to fish, you can't take it, obviously. You can mix it into smoothies, etc. And it helps me have less brain fog. It helps me have even sharper vision. And I'm going to take it right now so that I stop saying during this podcast. And you can see, if you want to see a little, it's bright orange because of the curcumin and the turmeric in it. And it's also awesome for your skin, especially when you have broken blood vessels, dry skin. Remember, under eye circles can be inflammation as well. This is good for cardiovascular disease, the bad effects of diabetes. It's good for just about every single cell in your body, and it tastes great. So there, I've taken my vitamins today. All right. Now, there's other things that are helpful, like minerals. And we are offering on Naturopathic MD, we're offering a special for $99 skin consult, where you can sit down with our Naturopathic MD specialists to look at you and your skin, talk about your health, and then make a program specifically designed for you so that you can have greater beauty with natural products recommended, etc. So that is an offer that we're doing for this week after this podcast. You can find it at naturopathicmd.com. And so now I'm going to tell you about what my specific protocol is for skin health. So we talked about the detoxifying baths. And quickly before we move on, I want to talk about skin brushing. So you can see this is a dry skin brush. It looks like a back brush, but it's not for the shower, but it's not to be done wet. And skin brushing has been shown to help with cellulite, circulation, and detoxification. It's also a good exfoliant. And a lot of the times when our skin looks dull, it's because we have dead skin. I'm starting to get it as I get older here along my jaw more and more. And so I have to exfoliate more. And I'm a big fan of mechanical exfoliators because I don't like chemicals. And so with skin brushing, just quickly, because it can help move the lymph through your body, lymph is kind of like the trash person, the waste management personnel of your body. So it takes your cellular debris and it filters it through your lymph nodes and then returns it to your circulatory system. So if you have swelling or cellulite or toxicity, then this can be a really helpful thing. There's a link to it on the Amazon page that I mentioned, but you can find them just about anywhere. Now, this has a brush to get to the back, but it also detaches so that you can just take this little brush, and then you always want to brush towards your heart, because when you brush away from your heart, you're taking fluid and pushing it into your extremities. And if you already have swelling, that's not a good plan. And so this can wake up your circulation, and you always want to do it towards the heart. You can do your legs. If you have areas of extra cellulite is thought to be an inflammatory thing, and where a lot of times fat is put in to insulate us from inflammation and toxicity. And so those little dimply cellulite places can really benefit from this and smoothing it out. It's also good for spider veins because you're stimulating circulation, and the little spider veins are because you have vessel weakness and they're dilated, and so they pop up to the top of the skin, and that's why when you press on them they disappear, and so that's a vascular weakness that can help with vitamin C and fruits and vegetables. And exercise is great because that tones every single vessel in your body, as well as getting rid of the detoxification, and it helps burn the fat for cellulite as well. And so I don't do skin brushing as much as I probably should, but I do a lot of sweating, which also helps move lymph. And when you do any sort of hot-cold therapies, and you always want to end on cold, that can actually tonify all of your vessels as well. And there's nutrients that we can recommend. I really love a berry mix. It's like a berry concentrate because it takes the beautiful parts of the berries that have all of the good polyphenols and proanthocyanidins, and without the sugar, which some people are concerned about. So skin brushing, detoxification. Now let's talk about cleansing the skin, because there's so many different cleansers out there, and you can get, there's some walnut-based cleansers with like walnut shell that do exfoliation, and microbeads are the devil. And I think that they've been outlawed most places because, they kill fish, et cetera, and put more plastic in the environment, which is absolutely insane because plastic is like an estrogen. And if you're putting more estrogen in your body, that means that you have to detoxify more, and it can just clog up the system. So this is my other favorite brush. It's a very soft facial brush. You can also get a congee sponge, which is very soft, depending on how delicate your skin is, but it can just help take off that top layer of um, dead skin, so that the skin is also stimulated to regenerate. And anytime you push on something or stimulate it, then the collagen and there's healthy inflammation that happens that helps to bring about healing. And collagen is in so many different products because that's what your skin is made out of, and that's what the structure comes from. But having an internal support for that is so much more important. Now, I have a couple of cleansers that I really like. There's one, we'll show. So the purer that you get, the better. This is a small sample that I actually got at Target, which they have now, which is fantastic because it's Dr. Bronner's Pure Castile Soap. This is a lavender because lavender is very soothing. And you can put a little bit of that on that brush and make a nice lather. This is a little bit problematic for some people because it can be very drying. Dr. Bronner's doesn't have any extra moisturizers and anything like that in it, and so it can be drying for people that already have dry skin. Now, this is one of my favorite companies. It's called Oromir, and they are an Ayurvedic company. It's manufactured in India, and they really pay back to the communities there. And they are just a fantastic company with lots of different options. This one is the Tulsi Neem soap. It's specifically for Vata Pitta skin, which is like fiery red and dry skin. And I'm Vata Pitta. And so they have other different areas. So then you've got Kapha as well. And so they have different formulations for different skin types. And I use this with that brush to give my skin a good cleansing from living in a toxic environment, exfoliating, and then there's lots of other ones. There's actually Silk Therapeutics. We'll get to them in a little bit. They have a silk-based facial cream cleanser that if you have really dry skin, then you may want to look into that because it's very rich and very clean and very creamy at the same time. So after that exfoliation, well, I wanted to demonstrate something too, because this is like the optimal process. And one of my tricks, because I have very dry skin on my hands because I wash them like a crazy person because of my job. And so I have very dry skin. And the back of the hands is a place that really can show your age. You can get age spots, thinning skin, wrinkles. It's a place that we don't always think to put sunscreen, etc. And so one of my tricks to keep my hands softer is I'll do either coconut oil or this is a Trader Joe's rose oil that I really like. And I just rub it into my hands, and because the back of your hand skin is actually really quite delicate. And then I put gloves on when I sleep because that holds the oil in. It doesn't come off, and it also can heat up your hands and bring good blood flow in there. And it helps, especially in the winter when things get really chapped. And these nitrile gloves, I mean, you can find them anywhere. And I do a lot of cleaning with them, etc., because they do protect the skin of the hands. Now, if you're just going to do like an exfoliation bed routine and then, wash right before you go to bed, we can talk about different moisturizers. Now, if you're just going to do that and go, we've all heard of toners. And so you can have like toners that have a lot of alcohol in them that are drying. And what toners do, which is not a good plan, right? You don't want drying skin on, when you're trying to stay hydrated and well oiled and looking young. So this is a heritage product. It comes from the Edgar Cayce Institute, and it's aromatherapy water with roses. And rose is so good for the skin. It's tridoshic. So we talked a little bit about the Ayurvedic skin types and body types a little bit, but there's Vata, which is very airy. There's Pitta, which is fire. And then there's Kapha, which is earth. And that's heavier and more oily, where fire is like rashes and then the Vata is dry. This is good for all of them. It's tridoshic. That means all three benefit from rose. And rose is also a very gentle toner that can contract your blood vessels. And it also smells wonderful. We use that for monster spray in my son's room. A little bit of lavender to make him pass out. So rose water can be very toning. You can let it dry. The other thing that is a great natural toner that you don't want to have in alcohol, you want to have it just an alcohol-free, is witch hazel. And witch hazel is an old school thing that is actually used in hemorrhoid pads. And why is that? Well, hemorrhoids are dilated blood vessels. It's exactly what they are. And so like Tux medicated pads or like witch hazel pads have that witch hazel in it to tone up and contract those blood vessels so they're not dilated and causing problems. So witch hazel is good for the skin for the same reasons, because it helps tighten up the pores and it helps tighten up the blood vessels to decrease redness, broken blood vessels, etc. So those are two really good toners. And then after the toner, then you can do a moisturizer. And there's a lot of different products that I like, but again, you want them to be EWG verified, which is the Environmental Working Group verified. I do have that list on Amazon under the Bad Girls Guide to Living Well. There's a link on my Facebook page, which is Naturopathic MD, and you can find all of these products there. You do have to contact us in order to get these next products that I'm talking about, because they're not available just anywhere. Now, this is the best eye cream I have ever found, and I may especially like it because it's got caffeine in it, which also can function as a blood vessel constrictor, and that's why it works well under the eyes. But it just brightens and firms the skin around the eyes. It's by Silk Therapeutics, and so I would put that on, and then this is a silk-based firming complex, and it's just heaven because you know that it's clean, and it also just feels so good on the skin. There's also daily things like this one has silk and vitamin E. And then this one is a purely radiant, just daily hydrating serum. None of these have sunscreen in them. And sunscreen is another thing that you can look at with EWG.org, where I know we're going into fall. And so only those of you that are in the Southern Hemisphere have to worry about this right now. Maybe, depends on what kind of, like how much time you spend out in the sun or whether you live in California. But protecting yourself from UV rays will decrease your aging. And if you want a good sunscreen, you don't want to have it have cancer-causing, endocrine imbalancing chemicals in it. And so many of them do. When I see people spraying their children with these like conventional sunscreens, I just cringe. And so this is the sunscreen that we use in our family. It's by Think Baby. If you can see it, this is the sport version. They have other versions. It's really very clean. Badger is another great company. You can find links to that as well. And this one is nice because when you put it on, it actually rubs in. Its active ingredient is zinc oxide, but it actually rubs in so you don't look like Casper the Ghost and covered in a white film. And you want to put this on your skin, your décolletage, and your hands as well to protect against the damage that the sun can do to the skin. And the way that the sun damages skin is it breaks down collagen structure with that sun radiation, which, as we know, collagen is the important part that we need to keep our skin firm, etc., or one of them. And so sunscreen is a great idea to do daily as far as a regimen, and most people know that. But when you're looking for pure products, you don't want, often it's difficult to find sunscreen in them because of the chemicals that are used. And so getting a separate one is a good idea. And remember to put it on your kids and your loved ones and your hands because it's going to help decrease the likelihood of getting age spots, brown spots, because age spots are when your collagen weakens and you can start seeing extra melanin come through. And so we talked about all of those pieces, and we didn't talk a whole lot about psoriasis and eczema, but we did talk, stretch marks too. So stretch marks show that you have a collagen weakness. And it's when your skin splits down to the dermis because the other collagen can't hold it together. And we see it in pregnancy, in, a lot of muscle gain you can get to when the skin can't keep up with like gaining or losing that you're doing. And so I want to talk now about how to address this from the outside. We've got our products that we talked about. And then I want to talk about some pretty awesome procedures that we do in the office. And you can also do some of them at home. But first, because you can't ignore that special kind of funk that you can get when you're hot and sweaty, antiperspirant is basically the devil. On the back of every single antiperspirant bottle that you see in a store, it will say, consult your doctor before using if you have kidney disease. Kidney disease starts at around under 100 of your estimated glomerular function rate. So your eGFR on your labs, if it says just like over 60 or over 60 is still kidney disease. And what that means is there's something nasty enough in that antiperspirant that if your kidneys don't clear it well and fast enough, that it can have health effects that you need to ask your doctor about beforehand. I have a patient whose endocrinologist and her rheumatologist told her not to use antiperspirant because it was so toxic. And so while detoxification can actually help you not smell when you sweat, because when you sweat, you can give off chemicals. Breath as well, your breath can certainly improve. But there's a lot of different natural deodorants that are great. And so this by Schmidt's is one that I like. This one can be a little bit hard underneath the underarms. And then there's the Crystal as well. You don't stink because of your natural smell. It's the bacteria that are feeding off of the waste products that are coming out of your skin. And so if you use naturally antibiotic and antimicrobial products, then those bacteria can't live and you're going to smell a lot better. And so if you do have like acne or infections or problems with the skin, this is a calendula product. Calendula is marigold, and it's a really awesome herb. It'll grow basically anywhere. And its flower petals are just dewy and moist and beautiful, and they're really good for the skin, and they're also antibiotic. This is a skin spray that you can use to help nurture the skin, but also as instead of antibiotic ointment. And if you're having acne, which is a microbial based or an infection based, this can be nice to put on it to hit that topically while you work on the inside as well. Because remember, it's always good to do both. I'm also a big fan of argan oil, and this is 100% organic argan oil, and I put a little bit of that on my hair instead of like the crazy gel products and things, and it just helps give it a little bit of shine and give it a little bit of life. Now, cosmetics are something that I didn't really talk about, and we don't have a whole lot of time to talk about, which is a shame. I had too much to throw into this. But my favorite company for good, clean cosmetics is something called Mineral Fusion. And this is the mascara that I use. It's EWG verified. They have a lot of other products as well, including like powders and bases and makeups. And so this is something that is always with me. That's my beauty regimen right there, that mascara. Now let's talk about the good stuff, because I almost lost time and you're probably wondering, why did she put on those gloves? Well, have you done microneedling or PRP facials? Because we talked about Botox and how, it may be beneficial because you can no longer look at your husband like, what are you talking about? But it also keeps you from getting those lines. Now, it also goes away, and remember, it has toxin in the name, and Restylane is very similar, or those dermal fillers, and they can last longer, but they're still really, all they do is they get shot in there and they puff up from water and then they wash away. These treatments that I'm going to be talking about right now, they repair your skin. They repair it. And people will ask me, well, how long does it last? Well, it lasts until you age again. And if you've got a good regimen and you avoid, toxicity of stressing your skin, then you're going to be able to maintain these effects long term. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I didn't know myself up for this, but for this one, you don't really need to. So this is a micro roller. It is, I got mine on Amazon. It came in 2 different levels. This is the 1 millimeter. I also got a 2 millimeter and a 3 millimeter. A lot of different spas do this. You can also get, blood or PRP or stem cells that you can paint on the face or inject into the face at different salons like Human Reconstruction in Fair Oaks, California. But this is a nice at-home thing, and it's very safe because it doesn't go that deep. And it's safe to use around the eyes, it's safe to use on the neck and the chest, and it doesn't hurt too much. And at 1 millimeter, it doesn't hurt too much. So what you want to do is roll across where you want to have the increased blood flow. And when you put little needles into your skin, that causes healthy inflammation. And so your immune system goes in as like, oh, we got to repair this. And then it can tighten up collagen, etc. But again, remember, you want to have those cofactors that are needed to make collagen in order to be able to support your body in, putting yourself through pain so that you can be beautiful. My grandfather used to say the price of beauty is high. So you want to put alcohol on your skin beforehand. And I did that beforehand because you don't want to put what's been dirty or like bacteria on your skin into your skin. So at 1 millimeter, it's really good for this delicate skin on the neck. And you want to do it in crisscross fashions. And so if you go perpendicularly or vertically like this, and then you want to turn it and go horizontally. And make sure you get it all equally. But I would do this about once a week, and you can see whether the benefits are. You can do the neck and the skin and the chest, but this is also really good for getting those areas where you have fine lines. I really hit my eyes hard. Now, I don't do my eyes, and you may be able to see that you can already see the blood flow that's coming up here. I don't do my eyes without doing pain management because why be in pain? And so you can contact us if you're interested in this sort of thing. You can contact us and we can help get you either contacts or a prescription in order to get lidocaine cream or BLT cream so that you can numb up these areas that are sensitive before you stick a whole bunch of needles in them. And I really like to do this around my eyes because that's where I'm starting to get most of my fine lines. And it's also really good for acne scars. Now, I will say you should see a professional in order to address scars, stretch marks, and deeper lines. And that's because you have, and I've been trained in this, and so I can do it at home without too much of a problem, but you don't want to use big needles or deeper needles on your eyelids, for example, or where you have really fine skin. But I actually do the 1 millimeter on my lips because as you age, you lose a lot of lip mass. And as we get older, because of fat process, but also hydration, being hydrated can actually help increase the plumpness of your lips. And we get a lot of lip lines because of smiling and laughing and, also smoking and those oxidative aspects there. And so if you go over your lips, and you can totally do this in order to plump them as well, because so you don't look like a duck. This is natural. No one's going to know that you're doing it. And it's going to be subtle, but it's also going to help slow the progression of time. Now, I think I'm going to have to wait until next time to really talk about stem cell injections, because that's what you would do under like this line right here, right? Like that groove, that nasolabial fold, they call it, because when you're smiling and you're talking and you're laughing, then that's going to be a deeper crease. And that is where you can take stem cells from your own blood and platelets from your own blood and put them in there to specifically address that broken collagen and plump it up and fill it. When I've had mine done, it's taken years off of my face. So I really recommend looking for a good professional in your area that can do PRP, blood, they call it like the vampire facelift, or other things similar. So I hope you got a good idea about like what I do, and you can apply it at home. You've got some tools, because remember, health is beauty. And you can visit the Amazon wish list. You can see a lot of these products are on there. And be a friend of ours on Facebook, or follow us on Instagram at Naturopathic MD for both of them, to see how we cook, how we eat, how we take care of our bodies, so that you can enjoy optimal health. Remember, Naturopathic MD is functional, natural, logical medicine. So we want to work from the inside as well as the out. So this is Dr. Heather Dallin. You can post questions underneath if you have them for me. And this has been the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well, and I will see you next week on Friday at 2 Pacific time.